You ever notice how being normal feels like a threat now? Not boring, dangerous. Like if you end up ordinary, something has gone wrong. Like your life failed some invisible test. No one says it directly, but you feel it. In the way people talk about success, in the way social media frames happiness, in the way everyone seems to be building a brand, chasing purpose, becoming their best self. It's subtle, but it's constant. The message is always the same. If you're not special, you're nothing. And that fear of being ordinary quietly starts running your life. You don't notice it at first. It just feels like ambition, motivation, standards, drive. But over time, it turns into pressure. Pressure to stand out. Pressure to be impressive. Pressure to be different, unique, unforgettable. And here's the part no one really talks about. That pressure doesn't make you fulfilled. It makes you restless, dissatisfied, chronically uneasy. Like your life is never enough as it is. Because you're not living to experience your life anymore. You're living to validate it. You start measuring everything. Your job isn't just work, it's status. Your hobbies aren't just joy, they're identity. Your relationships aren't just connection, they're proof. Your struggles aren't just struggles, they're potential origin stories. Even your pain starts needing a narrative, a meaning, a transformation arc. Nothing is allowed to just be what it is. And that's exhausting. You can be doing objectively fine in life, stable, safe, healthy, connected, and still feel behind. Still feel like you're wasting potential. Still feel like something is missing. Not because anything is actually wrong, but because your life doesn't feel remarkable enough. So you keep chasing this vague idea of being exceptional. Not even specific success, just significance. You don't want to just live. You want your life to mean something in a visible way. And that's where the trap starts. Because meaning quietly becomes recognition, purpose becomes validation, identity becomes image. You stop asking, is this making me feel alive? And start asking, does this make me look like someone worth noticing? That's how the fear of being ordinary slowly takes over. It shapes your choices. It keeps you from enjoying simple things. It makes you feel guilty for peace. It makes stillness feel like stagnation. It makes contentment feel like settling. You can't rest because rest feels like falling behind. You can't be still because stillness feels like invisibility. You can't be average because average feels like failure. So you keep upgrading your life on the outside while feeling emptier on the inside. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of this fear isn't even yours. It's conditioned. We grew up in a culture that treats attention like currency, visibility like value, difference like worth. You're constantly shown extremes, extreme success, extreme beauty, extreme talent, extreme lifestyles, extreme stories. And the quiet message underneath all of it is, ordinary equals irrelevant. So your nervous system learns this association early. To be unseen feels unsafe. To blend in feels like disappearance. To be replaceable feels like death. So you start trying to prove you're not replaceable, not forgettable, not just another person in the crowd. But here's what no one prepares you for. Trying to be exceptional as an identity is a psychological prison, because it never ends. There is no finish line where your brain goes, okay, you're special now. You can relax. There's always someone more successful, more talented, more admired, more visible, more impressive, more advanced, more evolved. So the comparison never stops. The striving never stops. The dissatisfaction never stops. And slowly, your sense of self becomes conditional. You're only okay with yourself when you're progressing, when you're improving, when you're achieving, when you're building, when you're becoming, not when you're just being. That's why so many people feel empty even when they're doing well, because their self-worth is attached to momentum, not presence. They don't know how to exist without proving something. And here's the deeper layer most people miss. The fear of being ordinary is actually the fear of being insignificant. And the fear of insignificance is really the fear of not being loved without performance, not being valued without achievement, not being chosen without distinction, not being enough without uniqueness. So you learn to decorate your identity, optimize your personality, curate your life, refine your image, sharpen your narrative. You turn yourself into a project. But projects are never at peace. They're always incomplete. And that's what ruins you slowly, not in a dramatic breakdown way, but in a quiet, constant tension way. A low-level anxiety, a background dissatisfaction, a feeling that you're always late to your own life. You're always preparing to live, but never fully living, planning, improving, upgrading, fixing, optimizing, reinventing, but rarely arriving. You know, what's wild? Some of the most peaceful people you'll ever meet don't feel special at all. They feel grounded. They feel present. They feel rooted. They feel solid in themselves. Not because they achieved more, but because they stopped needing to be exceptional, to feel okay existing. They're not trying to escape ordinariness. They've made peace with it, and not in a defeated way, in a grounded way. They understand something most people don't. Ordinary is not meaningless. Ordinary is human. Eating dinner, laughing with friends, walking home tired, waking up without a purpose speech, doing your job, having quiet thoughts, living small moments. This is life, not highlights, not milestones, not peak experiences, not transformation arcs. Those are rare by nature. They're supposed to be. But when you build your identity around peaks, the rest of life feels like a failure. And most of life is not peaks. It's repetition. It's routine. It's familiarity. It's predictability. It's quiet. It's stable. It's simple. So you start resenting the very structure of being human. And that's why the fear of being ordinary messes you up psychologically. It disconnects you from reality. You start wanting a life that looks good instead of a life that feels good. You start chasing identity instead of experience. You start building image instead of connection. You start curating instead of living. And the more you chase significance, the less present you become. Because presence doesn't perform. Presence doesn't impress. Presence doesn't stand out. Presence just exists. And existence feels threatening when your self-worth is built on distinction. Here's the quiet shift that changes everything. You stop asking, how do I become someone special? And start asking, how do I become someone real? Not impressive, not admired, not exceptional, not unique, just real. Real emotions, real connections, real boundaries, real rest, real joy, real boredom, real routines, real limits, real flaws, real needs, a real nervous system, a real human pace, a real life. Because when you stop trying to escape ordinariness, you start feeling grounded. When you stop trying to be exceptional, you start feeling free. When you stop trying to stand out, you start belonging to yourself. And belonging to yourself is something no recognition can replace. You stop living for an audience, even an imaginary one. You stop turning your life into a performance. You stop narrating your existence in your head. You stop evaluating every moment for its meaning. You stop needing everything to count. You let life be life. And that's when peace shows up not as happiness, not as excitement, not as motivation, but as calm, as steadiness, as okayness. You don't feel like you're falling behind anymore. You don't feel like you're wasting your life. You don't feel like you're disappearing. You just feel here.present.alive.existing.enough. The irony is this: the more you stop trying to be extraordinary, the more alive you actually feel. The more you stop chasing significance, the more meaningful things become. The more you stop trying to stand out, the more connected you feel. Not because you became special, but because you stopped needing to be. And maybe that's the real freedom no one talks about. Not becoming someone unforgettable, not becoming someone remarkable, not becoming someone important, but becoming someone who no longer needs to prove their existence was worth it. Someone who can sit in a normal day, a normal body, a normal life, and not feel like they're missing out on something bigger. Because the fear of being ordinary isn't ruining you loudly. It's ruining you quietly by pulling you away from the only place life actually happens. This moment, this breath, this body. This day, this simple, unremarkable human experience. And maybe the most radical thing you can do in a world obsessed with being special is learn how to be okay being human.